Hey YouTube, Petey Two Finger here. I had made this video about the BLAUX portable air conditioner. It's what they call a swamp cooler, where you use a fan and ice is really what the swamp cooler idea is. And I had made a review of the BLAUX because I had saw one at a resale store. Someone had bought it and tried it, and they felt that it was a scam product, and they had just boxed it back up with the manual and the warranty card and dropped it off at the Goodwill. And I saw it there. It was not cheap. I picked it up and I couldn't believe it. I wanted to show my partner, my old lady, and she was in line paying. So did you get to see that thing?
I really don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't think I did.
You didn't get to see it. Anyway, then I started getting bombarded by ads for this thing, and then I looked into it, and I thought, well, this. I found one woman who had made a video on it and pointed out how the advertising was bad, that they had just completely filled up the internet with all of their reviews that are. They're not legitimate reviews, they're advertisements. And like when you buy it, they have like a PayPal logo where you can click on that, but it doesn't take you to PayPal. You just have to give them your credit card number. So it's also kind of not really even safe to buy one. It's questionable, you know. It's not really clear who you're dealing business with, you know. Anyway, I had gotten in trouble. Overwhelmingly, I had great response to the video. So thank you to everyone who commented and watched it. One guy, he was like, did your parents have any kids that lived? What did he say? It was like he was really upset. Let me go to my video so I can read you. Forgive me. I'm going to read you. Booklet came with it. I'm going to read you the comments. And like I said, overwhelmingly, I had really positive feedback. This Roderick Williams says, "Did mom and dad have any kids that lived?" 3 question marks. I mean, who ties your shoes in the morning? 2 question marks. Holy no info at all, Batman. 2 exclamation marks. Tell me, question mark, what month are we in? So someone wrote, "You turkey, what's your problem? Working for blow me." Kenneth Leland. Thank you for the comment, Kenneth. My comment, I just responded to this. You didn't even have patience to watch the video. I checked out your channel where you smoke shatter and stare into the camera for minutes on end. I wasn't that impressed. But I love the jail/face tattoos and the dog that you keep saying, "You're my dog too." That's too funny. Anyway, check out Roderick Williams' channel. He's got 12 videos and he's got a playlist of 2 favorites. Spectacular content. Then we have JF. Complete, it's all caps, "Complete waste of my time, exclamation point. No one is showing the device running and working. Your title is misleading." Well, JF, I let you know, I changed the title of the video. It now says, "BLAUX Portable Air Conditioner Thoughts." Because that's what it was. It was, I had put my hands on one, I looked at it, I saw that it's a computer fan, I saw that it runs off of USB, and I saw that you pour water into it. So I know it's a Peltier cooler. That's a device that works with a metal plate or a radiator that has water in it, and that the air, blowing air through it will displace temperature. Okay. Now the problem with the BLAUX is the fact that it's a small little unit with a small reservoir. Like if you had a wall of those things, and then you had a servant that their only job was replacing the ice water every 15 minutes, maybe it would work. But me, I have an air conditioner, you know, and I built a swamp cooler before, and I'll tell you, they do work, but 1 8-pound bag of ice in a car. I was in a Chevy Citation that I was living in, and I had 2 coolers. One was to catch the water, and the other one held ice on. I had racks. I had the ice on racks to stack it up so it didn't just all. Anyway, I used some type of barbecue grill grates that I had to stack the ice, and I had a fan that I could plug into my cigarette plug on my car. And that swamp cooler, I ran it in July, and I had a drainage tube on it, which would go out. I had removed a section of I had a beater car, so I cut out the door seal on the bottom. And eventually, that would have probably rusted out down there, but the car was already kind of rusty, and I knew I wasn't going to be driving it for more than a year. So yeah, I just ran the drainage hose out the bottom of the door, and it did work. Like, that swamp cooler worked, but the ice melted so fast because the ice isn't just sitting there, you're blowing air on it. So it would get cool, and then your ice would melt, and then you'd be sweating your ass off again. So that's the problem with a swamp cooler. Okay? Unless you have, like, maybe you're using dry ice or those refreezable little BLAUX plastic containers that have some liquid in them. Just not really a good idea. I mean, you could, if you were in a pinch and you had free electricity to freeze the stuff and to run the fans, it's just not an efficient system. What I ended up doing, my little air conditioner story, and I've told this story on this channel before. I was working at a car dealership. My father had passed away, and he knew the owner. He had helped set this dealership up. Like when they first built it, he came in on his day off and worked in the parts department, setting up all of the shelving and the ID tags and everything. Because my dad was regional parts manager for Volvo of North America. That was his job for the Midwest. Okay, so the owner of this dealer was really fond of my dad. My dad died young. He got skin cancer and took him out pretty quickly. In about 6 months, he was gone. He died from malpractice. The nurse choked him out with his own artificial teeth, his bridge. So yeah, that's the story with my dad. I ended up getting a job working for this guy. My mom kicked me out of the house because she kind of lost it. It was like her husband had died, and then I was starting to really rebel. I was playing double music in a band, and so yeah, she kicked me out of the house, and I was living in this car, and it was hot, and I made that swamp cooler. I remember sleeping outside of the vehicle in June, and a car pulling up and stopping, and the headlight. I had pulled up to the end of the lot, so there's a curb, and there's some gravel, and then there's a fence, a high fence, and then the rest of it is this massive parking lot for the dealership. And this car, I'm just starting to fall asleep. And, in June, maybe May, June. It was maybe May. Like the engine would be warm, and I would get out. I would lay on the curb and sleep with that bumper right by me. There'd be a little bit of heat coming off the engine, and I could fall asleep. Then I would maybe wake up freezing at about 2 in the morning, and I would go in the car, turn the heat on, get all hot, shut that off, and then go back out there and have the heat from the engine keep me warm. And so it was a lot of waking up. It wasn't comfortable. It sucked. Anyway, this car pulls up, and I'm like, who the F is this? And it's my mom coming to see, because she didn't believe that I was hoboing it. She thought that I must have been sleeping on someone's couch. So I cussed her out, get the F out of here, If you're not inviting me to come back home, what are you doing here? So I start drifting back asleep. I'm sleeping, and I hear this noise of the chain link fence going. Okay. You know what? This is later. To me, it's all blended into one night. But this particular night, it was hot. Because I was in my underwear. It was June now. It was like late June. So I'm underneath the car, and somebody's climbing over the fence. And I woke up and thought it was my brother coming. He used to like to get a 1/4 ounce of cocaine, and then we would party. So I thought, he must be... he's showing up with some blow. Here he is. And it wasn't my brother. It was a guy who had been breaking in and stealing stereo units out of the cars, the new cars. And so I stood up. Hey, bro. And this guy wasn't my bro. And the look on this guy's face, because he was breaking in to steal a stereo, and then there's a naked kid, the kid standing in his underwear. What's up? It's me, And so the guy freaked out, and his eyes got this big, and and I got pissed. You're not my brother. He starts climbing over the fence, and I'm chasing him in my underwear. And a cop, he runs off into behind the houses, and I'm still running, and there's a cop, and he's got his air on and his window up, and he's not even looking, and I'm like, hey, I'll jump around in my underwear, and he just drove right by. So I had told my brother that story, and he told the owner of the dealer, this German guy, I really don't want to say his name. Anyway, the guy took me out the next day. He said, come with me. And we went to this construction site next door, and he found this giant steel, Buana bar, this giant bar. And he was like, here's what you do when you find the crook. And he showed me his Hitler Youth training. He was all, like how I would get this guy down and and gorge his throat with it, take him out. He showed me, this is what you do. And then he gave me this thing. It was I couldn't even hold it. It was this 90-pound, big lead ingot thing that he had found, that he had saw over there. And he was like, you're the night watchman. And I was like, okay. Then it was okay for me to sleep there. So, I had moved the car. I had hidden it. There was an embankment with this green box sticking out of it. It was huge. What it was an underground fiber optic node for Ma Bell, or our phone company. So it was a trailer that was buried underground, and you would climb down. There was a green access hatch, a giant green thing sticking up out of this mound, this huge mound. It was the size of about 4 pickup trucks. And I would park right next to that and hide my car in by that mound. And to try to get some privacy, One day on my lunch break, those guys were had it open, and I said, "What is that thing?" And they said, "You want to see?" And they had me climb down, and I went in it, and it was a rack mount. It was, the whole thing was rack mount. It was from the ground to the seat to the thing, rack mount gear, all for the phone company. All these multiplexers, and it was crammed full of air conditioners to keep that stuff cool. So they've got a massive power cabling system running to it to bring power in. There's 4 air conditioner, like window unit style, military style, professional air conditioner units on the top, and then they're with hot air. And then there's one vent, an exhaust that blew cold. And I didn't ever realize it, but like I had went through that whole process. Like my mom had pulled up and freaked me out that one night. Then that guy came trying to steal the stereos, and I chased him in my underwear. Then I built the swamp cooler. And, that was all like really, like, it was so much fun, like building it, like buying the coolers, stealing some tape from the body shop to put it together. It was like I had like kind of MacGyvered it together, and then it actually worked, So when I realized that the ice burnt out so quickly that first night when I used it, and it did blow cold, and I had to button up, with a sleeping bag to stay warm. But then an hour later, all the ice was gone and it was hot again. That was a real unbelievable letdown. And what followed was a lot of about 2 sleepless nights of me sweating my balls off. And what I kept hearing was, I would hear these air compressors coming on in an air conditioner unit. Then they would shut off. And I'm like, something is cold. Like if these machines are shutting off, something is cold. Like what is? So I got out in my underwear, and I'm thinking, do they leave the air conditioning on in the break room at the end of the dealership where I'm parked back there? Like, no. He would never, this German guy's so cheap, he would never let people be running the air when nobody's there. So I get out and I see grass blowing, and I go around, and there's all these heat exchanges where the hot air comes out of the air conditioner. Hot air, hot air, hot air, hot air, and then there's one vent, this thing that comes out like that. And the grass was blowing there, and I went and pulled my hand out of there. Ice cold. So I went, I didn't sleep. And then I went to White Hen in the morning. They opened at like 6 o'clock, and I bought a thing of garbage bags, like black garbage bags, and I had razor blades in the car, and I had 3.5-inch masking tape. So I cut the ends off of the garbage bags, and then taped them together and made a big snake tube. And then I had some cardboard, and I made like a fitting where I could plop the box up against the thing, and I would use like a stick or some kind of like little piece of wood and prop it up against there to hold it. And then it would go poof, poof, poof. They would all puff out, and it would come up to my window. I would have my window rolled down, and I had another cardboard fitting that fit up right up in the window. All modified out of like Aldi boxes, And that worked. That, you want to talk about blow? I was cold up in there in my undies, freezing cold in my sleeping bag. So I had completely beat the system, and I had to get an alarm clock because I was sleeping in. I wasn't waking up for work when it was all hot with the sun, because I had kept working on it. The car, I don't think the car was moving. I think something happened with the wheel bearing, and so I had like cardboard on all the windows. I was living in there, and I had a barbecue, and I had a guitar. There was an outlet, so I had a guitar amp and a delay, and my Les Paul, and then I had my bass and a bass amp. So I used to jam back there, and actually met some people doing that. What are you doing? Well, I were telling my story, So long story short, my brother, made the mistake of telling him because I thought it was so cool. And he got some quarter sticks of dynamite, and they were all meeting there on a Saturday to go play war games, go play paintball. I used to go with him too. I don't know why I didn't go with him that time. I must have been on the outs with him, or I didn't feel like it was really expensive, and maybe I couldn't afford it. Oh, I remember what it was. I used to get poison ivy unbelievably bad every time I would go. So I was like, I'm not going. It's the middle of summer. I don't need to be getting paid to get poison ivy. So I had already done it a dozen times anyway. You know, it was like, it wasn't that much fun for me anymore. So they all meet, and he says to everybody, hey, come on over. And they set up a bomb. And so I hear, boom, and I hear it through the tube because they had done it right over. They did it on the other side of the thing. And when it went off, I heard boom, boom, and all the smoke got sucked through the heat exchangers. And I put my face up to look in the window, and this big puff of smoke came out and hit me. And I almost shit my pants. I thought something in the node blew up because of me stealing their air. So I jump out of the car in my underwear, and here's like 25 guys standing there laughing at me with a Polaroid. They got a picture of me. So, yeah, that was kind of not cool. And then everyone knew, and they told the owner. And the owner came up to me, and he was like, what are you, some kind of fucking parasite? And he was all mad and like called me a parasite. He said if my father was alive, he would beat the shit out of me. And I was like, yeah, if my father was alive, I probably wouldn't be working for you. You know, not you wouldn't be treating me this way. But yeah, that's the story of the swamp cooler, and why I'm qualified to tell you that the blow is not a good idea. And again, I didn't think to tell these stories on my original review. We're here at 22 minutes. I'm going to cut you guys loose. Thanks for listening to me tell my stories. I know I probably could have done a better job with that, but I'll see you guys. Peace.